Welcome to Let's Get Two, your tour of America through the lens of minor league baseball. Baseball from sea to shining sea. And now, the first pitch. Opening thoughts from James Christopher. Presented by BaseballMapper.com.
And welcome to Let's Get To. This is the first pitch, and yes, for us right now, ballparks and crickets. We are not on the road this week. We'll be back on the road next week for our trip to Columbia, and then you'll see us in Biloxi. But for now, we're staying home and getting some much-needed rest in preparation for what's going to be a very busy summer. Now, we do have to talk about something quasi-important, but before we do, just a big shout-out to the Durham Bulls. Got my new jersey. It is super sweet. I got the Durham Bulls movie version, the Road Gray. I've coveted it, and I thought, treat yourself. Treat yourself to the Bulls. This is why I don't sing. It's why I do a podcast. But we have to talk about something that is important, and I hope it's important. And this whole show is about the culture of baseball, right? And it's about the positive impact on baseball, the positive impact baseball has on people's lives. And you know, for the most part, I think we do a pretty good job of that. But sometimes, unfortunately, real life intervenes. And so I'm going to start by congratulating Major League Baseball, which many of you are thinking to yourself, is this the right show? Yes, I'm congratulating Major League Baseball for how they handled the Tyler Bauer situation. He's Trevor Bauer to the other fan bases out there, but Astros fans call him Tyler, and if you know, you know. MLB made the right decision, and I think they made the only decision, and my hope is that this decision is going to result in Trevor Bauer never pitching another Major League Baseball game again. And I think if you look at the accusations, if you look at some of the evidence, frankly, I think it seems to be the only real choice. And let me start by saying, look, I'm not a Puritan. I'm not someone who is queasy about sort of sex that maybe isn't like missionary all the time, right? Like, I understand that there are lots of types of coitus.
The physical act of love, coitus.
Yeah, I just wanted to use coitus because of the Big Lebowski, so there we go.
You mean coitus?
Again, this is not coming from someone who is a prude by any stretch of the imagination. And I think that's a fair point to bring up, because what we're talking about isn't something that would cause someone to be pearl clutchy. This is about depravity. This is about behaviors that indicate a much deeper problem outside of somebody needing to get a little weird to get their jollies off. And, you know, the fact is that most of the acts that he was accused of, depending on which version of his excuse that you listen to, because there have been several, most of the acts that he was accused of doing, he doesn't deny. He just claims that they were consensual. And I don't understand why, how it can be consent if she's unconscious. I don't understand how some of those bruises and injuries result from consensual sex. But it's not my place to necessarily judge the desire to get a little off kilter in the bedroom. I think, again, what we're talking about is depravity, and Major League Baseball has to recognize that they have to represent their brand. They have to defend their brand, and you can't defend that brand when 85% of the people who look at the situation and think to yourself, Tyler Bauer is not the kind of person that I want to be around. He's not the kind of person that I want representing my team. Because, again, depravity. Now, there are going to be some people that are going to pipe up, and they're going to say, well, what about the fact that he was exonerated? There's two things to that. One, he wasn't exonerated. Understand that there's a difference between facing a jury of your peers and being acquitted versus the prosecution, for whatever reason, deciding that they can't make a case, so they don't press criminal charges. The burden of proof is so unbelievably high. And I know that not just from years of watching Law and Order. Okay, I only know it from years of watching Law and Order, but still, a prosecutor is not going to take on a case unless they're pretty sure they're going to win. That's just the way it goes. The other thing is, if you're someone who is looking at these incidents, looking at these results and thinking to yourself, well, it's fine because he was exonerated, I almost think you got to get your head examined. Nothing about this shows anything other than a disdain for women, I would think almost sociopathic viewpoint on the world, if that's the right use of that phrase. Almost someone who just doesn't value human beings above himself. And I think that if you've seen the way Tyler behaves in almost any of his other previous walks of life, that's very on brand for him. I think that he definitely sees himself as up here and everyone else is down here for his enjoyment. And I think that comes clear. So to me, it's like this is the wrong horse to back if you're sitting there going with the whole, well, he was exonerated, which again, he was not. The other thing we have to realize, if we walk down the path that these actions show a disdain for women, they're depraved, they are not something we want representing this game, and understanding too that there's still a civil case to come, which a much lower burden of proof. Major League Baseball's decision making has a much lower burden of proof. The criminal burden of proof is intentionally high, so we don't get in the habit of arresting the wrong people or prosecuting the wrong people. I know that it happens, but that's the goal. Major League Baseball has to be very careful because you can't uphold Bauer as a hero. He shouldn't be allowed to represent what is supposed to be one of the best parts of American culture when he behaves in such a way that doesn't live up to the rest of those values. And again, I'm sure I'm coming off to some people who I'll be generous and say are just missing the point. I won't be super, what's the word I'm looking for? Combative by saying you might be a little bit more like Trevor Bauer than you think. I'll just be generous and say this is the wrong horse to back. Major League Baseball absolutely made the right call in this. And again, I hope that we never see him pitch another game on a major league mound ever again. And I'll be honest, if it happens, that might be the straw for me that breaks the camel's back. Patrick Larson texted me a little bit. He's obviously part of the Curved Brim Media Group. You should be checking out his hat history video series. And he was just like, I love. He's first of all, he's so generous and sweet. He's always talking about how much he likes the show, and I'm going to assume he's just not telling me that. So, but he talked about the positivity of the show, and he talked about how it relates to my grandson in last week's episode and all this stuff. I cannot, in good conscience, look my daughter in the eye, or look my grandson in the eye, who we're all trying to make sure we grow to be the right kind of human person when it comes to how he interacts with women, respectful, just respectful, that they're equal, all this stuff, right? Where it's always a balancing act, and you also realize that you have a strong, independent woman in my daughter who's doing her best. How can I look them in the eye and say I still support this game when baseball through the right lens can be seen as it doesn't support her? And that's really where it comes down for me. So hopefully, I don't think he will. I think even if his suspension gets reduced, I don't think that he will. I can't imagine a team that would sign him. It's a public relations disaster, and as well it should be. So Again, that's my take on Tyler. We've got a great episode coming for you. And now let's jump into our next segment, which is nothing but positive, because we've got Erik Mertens for his regular Swinging for the Fences segment. But this time, someone special rode shotgun.
Let's Get Two presents Swinging for the Fences, inspirational stories from the game of baseball.
And we are excited. What a treat for this episode of Let's Get Two. We have Erik Mertens, the Eric the Peanut Guy himself, and we have Paul Caputo on, who, of course, counted baseball. He probably gets more pictures of ice cream helmets than you do. I mean, Eric, Paul, are you tired of the pictures of ice cream? I know I sent you 3. On Saturday.
Well, you texted them to me directly, which I love. One of my favorite things that I was really hoping early on when I established the whole the baseball and ice cream thing, that people would start tagging me in their helmet Sunday photos, just because that brings me joy to see those. And it's happened every time, someone is at a baseball game and they take a picture of a helmet Sunday, they tag me now. And so true to my word, I retweet it every time it happens, but it makes me so happy to see people eating ice cream at ball games.
And, Erik, you also are sort of associating yourself with a ballpark snack. I want to first of all tell you that anytime your name comes up in a conversation, your just genuine niceness is always the thing people follow up. So,
oh wow,
take that.
Thanks.
Well, I appreciate that, James. Hero is a strong word.
I was like,
you weren't talking about me. I'm sorry.
I was like the ice cream guy, but Erik, how's it been? Back at, I know you've had at least a week of games. I'm guessing 2 weeks of games. How's it been to be back?
So good. This is my 21st season with the Dust Devils, and I've had so many different jobs, like day jobs, during those 21 seasons. And I started a new one this year, and it's a challenge, trying a new thing. So during the off season, I could get pretty discouraged. I'm like, what am I doing? I need some direction in life. But as soon as opening day comes around, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. I have a day job, which is with good people, but it's a challenge to kind of learn this new thing. But it's allowing me to be in place for baseball. So we've had one homestand, and our second homestand starts in about an hour. So this is nice. A great way.
Holy smokes.
This is my uniform.
So we'll get this knocked out then. I will say, Paul, rush. You know me to be a major movie nerd. Did you by chance have a flashback to the movie Wayne's World? I've had plenty of Joe jobs, nothing you'd call a career. I don't know. I had that going. So yeah, this was not an intended segment to do this together. You two have already been announced as regular contributors with your own sort of different missions. And I don't remember if it was Erik or Paul on our text chain was like, we should just do one, all 3 of us.
Yeah.
So
this is great. I think I said it before we hit record, but there are not 2 other people I'd want to hang out more in a Zoom room with. I listen to both your podcasts religiously, and I'm just kind of a giddy fanboy right now, just getting to hang out with them.
Well, I echo that. You guys are 2 of my favorite people, and this minor league baseball community that we found. I was going to say without having met, but Erik and I actually did meet at the Missoula Paddleheads game. So, but
I had a lot of FOMO for that.
Oh man, well, and you were just in Columbia at a Fireflies game
with Ed
Rivera and Donnie Wise, and so that was, man, I was sitting there looking at that, and I'm like, these jerks, that looks like so much fun.
It does kind of suck though, right? Like. And then I get this random text message from my daughters going, I think I'm just going to go up to a Tri-Cities game. And I was like, let's go. Like, what are you even saying maybe for? But I think it's, for me, I feel like soul refilled hanging out with you guys and then being at a ball game. And so, you definitely are like, wow, I'm home this weekend. Like I scheduled, like last year, I nearly killed myself. So I've been really smart. And I'm looking at the calendar going, wow, I have so many weekends that I'm just at home. And my wife is like, don't do it.
Yep.
Take a break.
She knows you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one of the things we thought would be fun is kind of go through some of our favorite brands in minor league baseball. And we I think, and I know it's obviously something really close to Paul's heart because of all the work you do, but I do think that the way a lot of the branding works in minor league baseball is some of the best in sports. And I think I love that it's often driven by like heart, and it's driven, because they're really trying to make a sort of positive impression on the world. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through some of our teams that we think do it the best. Which of you would like to go first?
I would like Ed to go first. I just said Ed.
You said Ed.
Because we were talking about Ed Rivera. I would like Erik to go first.
Really? Thanks, Paul. That's perfect because Ed is my middle name. So you can call me Ed all you want. I love that. I have to be honest. I am in my childhood bedroom. I'm currently living with my mom until I find a new place, getting married in September. So we're just trying to make it work until then. And I'm like squished in the corner of my childhood room, but I'm going to turn my laptop camera. This poster right up here.
Oh, wow.
All 160 minor league baseball hats from, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. That has helped influence my love for minor league baseball, my love for travel, my love for branding. And there's I don't know if did you guys ever see these posters?
I have the 2014 one right next to me.
Okay.
And I had a bunch of people were saying, kept promising me they'd send me one and never did. Liars.
I tell you what, if I ever get two, I'll send it your way. But one year, I don't know who designed these. The one side was all the minor league baseball hats, and then the other side were just these montages, these really cool like art pieces of a minor league ballpark. And there was like stars and fireworks and the family eating peanuts and Cracker Jack. And that sense of whimsy or kind of that magical experience. What I love is the brands of teams that connote that experience more than anything. I love fun animals. I love fun things, but some brands really stand out. And I think, James, you picked one of them. So I'm going to let you. In fact, I think it was the ballpark you were just most recently at. But I picked, here's my top three for today because they rotate a lot. But
they really do.
I got the Missoula Paddleheads, and here is their home hat. And now I'm showing one of their other hats. And this one with the outline of the state of Montana, showing the moose fly fishing, shows the pine trees. You got the Clark Fork River. You got mountains up there. Again, it kind of connotes like the environment, the experience you will have at a Paddleheads game when you're out in the middle of the Rocky Mountains watching a minor league baseball game. So not only is it cool, like bold colors, really fun shapes and designs, but it connotes that thing. Another one here, and again, I feel so united with both of you because Jim, I think you just posted.
I already know what hat you're showing. I have it back here somewhere.
Bam! The Erie Sea Wolves. Look at that. And this is one where it has the same character, their sea wolf like face, forward facing wolf with an eye patch, and he's wearing different hats on every on-field hat. And it's kind of like Pokemon, like you gotta catch them all, you gotta collect them all. I got to travel through Erie on one ballpark road trip, and I wasn't going to be able to catch a game because I was supposed to make it up to Toronto that night for a night game. So I was just going to swing by the ballpark, catch a hat. I really love driving through Erie. I love the area, but they had a rain out the night before. And so I stumbled across a doubleheader day game. So I actually got to like hang out, and I met the wolf and the wolf mascot and just had a blast. So they kill it with their branding.
They're definitely a team because I have them set on Twitter to notify. And it's definitely one when I see it, I'm like, all right, how much this time?
Seriously.
I think I have like eight. I've only been, are they in Pennsylvania? Where are they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've been to Pennsylvania once. I have 8 Erie Sea Wolves hats.
They're in Erie, Pennsylvania. But when I was in Cleveland a couple of weeks ago, I wore my Erie Sea Wolves cap on the shore of Lake Erie in Cleveland.
That's right.
Yeah.
I saw you. Did you post about that?
I did. I posted that on Twitter. I said, here's me on the shore of Lake Erie in my Erie Sea Wolves hat. And I said, that is minor league baseball brand synergy right there.
Synergy.
Love it.
And to wrap up my 3, this is, I've been blessed to be on a lot of podcasts and get to talk a lot. And people ask me, what's your favorite brand or what's your favorite ballpark? So it sounds redundant, but I have nothing but love for the Asheville Tourists. And I'm going to show, this is the newest on-field hat they've come out with just for, I believe it's their newest like non-theme night hat. And so What?
I'd like to check the facts on that.
Ooh,
They actually
okay,
did
you're right.
review. They did just release, and I have it
Okay.
on my shelf. The Astros tour.
Yeah, you got that one.
I did.
So good. Okay, you win. Yeah, you are
Fact check.
correct. Fact check.
Yeah, no spin zone or something. I don't know.
I
So-
can't. Yeah, this community, I cannot like misspeak because you two will.
I'm going to be keeping a silent tally in my head here, by the way, as we're going through these.
Mhm.
And right now, that is 2 Brandiose brands that Eric picked and 1 Dan Simon brand.
Very
Wow.
So
But
You
this
know,
is what I love about like this community, because that's a thing I wouldn't even have thought of to like keep track of, right? Like, I don't know. I just love that there's like, we're all kind of going in the same direction. We're swimming in different strokes. And I kind of dig that.
absolutely.
I posted a picture of myself wearing a Sea Wolves hat once on Instagram, and Dan Simon like reached out to me. He didn't even know who I was, but like he found a Sea Wolves hat on Instagram and like wrote, it's like, thanks for wearing my hat. It was great.
They do the best. Like they're so dynamic. Yeah. Like I got their Frankenstein one. I got I've just got so many. Paul, would you like to go through your 3? It's
Yeah,
like show and tell
absolutely.
when we were in kindergarten.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to do anything to help the tally, the Dan Simon Brandiose tally here right away. This one was done in-house based on a 2001 episode of The Simpsons. And I know this is near and dear to your heart there, James, because you were just there not too long ago.
Yeah.
But the Albuquerque Isotopes, they're absolutely one of my favorites because, I mean, first of all, the backstory behind this episode, Hungry Hungry Homer, that came out in March of 2001, right after the Cannons had left, they went to become the Cannons, right? And so this episode in March of 2001 came out, and then 2003, Albuquerque gets a team back. I just said the Cannons. The Dukes left to become the Calgary Cannons.
Right. Yeah.
So
I was following you.
okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I was being clear on that because
I
I
was
was
just
throwing
afraid I
a
was going to
lot of
fact check
names.
him again, but
I'm
and I
afraid-
should have, because I just did a whole Raiders of the Lost Diamond on this whole thing. I was like, sounds
Yeah.
weirdly familiar.
No, and I just, I've got a reputation to uphold here. I didn't want to get that wrong. So, but anyway, they had a name the team contest, and they had a fan vote, and Isotopes just like blew everything out of the water. Like it wasn't even close. And James, obviously, followers of your podcast know as of today that the Isotopes brand is just awesome. It's all over the place. The park is great, and they've got the Simpsons statues there. But it's not just about the Simpsons, right? Like they have Sandia National Laboratories there. There's a whole sort of science ethos in Albuquerque, right? So it's the Simpsons episode where Homer stages a protest to keep the Springfield Isotopes from moving to Albuquerque, and it's discovered at the end that he was right, that they were going to move, and it's discovered because they've got all of these like the green chili relish and the wrappers on the hot dogs actually say Albuquerque Isotopes on them, and so for that to become real life is just it was just such a funny thing and very cool.
And it answered one of my questions going in was, were they going to embrace it or ignore it? And I love that they embraced it. I love that they are, and I think to me, it's very minor league baseball to just own that part of that identity. I thought that was great.
Yeah. By the way, I have these awesome stickers that Jason Jennings sent me. Speaking of the Dukes, by the way, huh?
Hey.
Nice.
So-
I was at a game with 4 people who had been to it. 4 people who had been to an actual Dukes game, including my wife.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
They do family reunions up there. They used to, and they all went to the Dukes.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. The next one. And I have to reiterate, by the way, like you say, this answer could have been, if you had asked me this question tomorrow, it could have been 3 completely different teams.
Yeah.
One of the teams that consistently shows up on my list, though, is the Daytona Tortugas, right? I love this brand. Another Dan Simon one, created by Dan Simon. They were the Daytona Cubs for a long, long time. He had just done their logo for them for the Cubs. And then they just, they changed parent clubs, and they decided they needed to change, they needed to change. They couldn't be the Cubs anymore because they were now affiliated with the Reds. And they decided to go with a unique nickname, which should be the law in minor league baseball. Every team should have a unique nickname, right? A constitutional amendment. Let's have it. I particularly love this brand because the team itself does work with sea turtle conservation, right? And so they're right there on the beach, and the team itself actually volunteers, and they protect the nesting areas. And sea turtles are these incredibly powerful, graceful, beautiful animals, But they're so vulnerable and fragile, and they need our help, and they need to be protected. And this brand just sort of, I don't know, captures all of that. Like, he's sort of strong, but also, like, he's not invulnerable. And so I really like the connection to this sort of conservation ethic that they have, but also just this like awesome, fun turtle. And who doesn't love a sea turtle, right?
Oh, exactly.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
all right, so that's now 2-2, Brandios and Dan Simon. I'm going to break the tie for
Tiebreaker.
now anyway, with the Hartford Yard Goats.
There we go.
And I love this brand in part because it's a fun brand.
Mhm.
They do really fun stuff with, they do a Hartford Whalers night where instead of a baseball bat, he's got a hockey stick.
I want to go to that.
I know, right? Like, so much. They wear like hockey style jerseys. They wear the hockey sweater instead of the baseball jersey.
Googling.
So they do some amazing stuff with that. And you'll notice that these are Hartford Whalers colors, by the way. That's part of their brand was intentional. I really love this because this is one of the brands that I sort of hold up as an example, along with like the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, right? Like, that's another one of these names that sort of feel like they were pulled out of a hat, but actually have this very strong connection to the local community. The Yard Goats, the term Yard Goats is a term for a locomotive switcher at a railroad. And the Hartford, New Haven, New York Railroad is essentially the reason the town of Hartford exists. And so it's a railroad term that Brandios flipped on its head, and they turned it into an actual goat instead of a railroad, because there's already a lot of railroad themed teams out there. And so to have a sort of goat themed logo, because it is a term that relates to the railroad, and the railroad is so important to Hartford. The other thing, it's not on this cap, but if you look at the Yard Goats logo, the text on it is derived directly from the old signage for the railroad.
That's
they had.
cool.
Very cool, like sort of wink and a nod to that old railroad part of the community there. So there's, again, there's a bajillion of these things, and that's why we all do what we do, right? That's why we talk about these things so much. But those are three that I just, that just really appeal to me for different reasons. So that
means we're at 3-2 Brandios.
3-2 Brandios and 1 in-house design. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I'm gonna go. We'll knock out the one that I just saw. Just got back from Columbia Fireflies, so I've got the lid and I've got the ball, and
So good. That would have been one of mine, but you're the host.
it was, it was. I walked in and just fell in love with all of it, and I think using the yellow the way they do, which is a color that if you just talk about it, doesn't sound like it should work, but it does. Mm-hmm. And having everything tied to that, having the pro shop be called the Mason jar, like everything just felt like it fit without feeling forced. And I think the other thing too is I really appreciated all the different varieties of what you could buy with the logos on it. Although I do have to say, Columbia Fireflies, fat people need fishing shirts too. Maybe don't go. It went small, medium, large, 3X. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with any of those things, but I guess I could
either grow into it or
exactly. It's a goal shirt. So yeah, I thought so. Again, the Fireflies. I don't often commit to going back to a park out of state, but I'm committed to going back there. They were such good people with such a great look. And then the second one I'll go with, which I'm actually wearing now, and this is one of their, is the Bowling Green Hot Rods. Had a chance to get out there for their Halloween night, and it was, again, like top to bottom, well designed. And I love the fact that they pretty much change up every year their alternative hot rod look. And it's almost like it's a hot rod of a different era. So sometimes it could be from the 40s or whatever. And I think this hat is just sweet.
Such a good one.
Yeah. And
really
I ended up spending, like, I got the shirt, I got a whiskey tumbler back there. It was nuts.
You're both wearing hot rod shirts, and I missed the memo.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I was telling James in our sort of pre-interview, I interviewed Eric Leach this morning for the Baseball by Design podcast for an upcoming episode. And he, one of my favorite things about the hot rods, and he showed off, by the way, because I mentioned, James, I was going to be talking to you. He showed off his belt buckle that he got from the Let's Get Two award. He had it handy. I mentioned you, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got this right
here."
I just
Bowling
figured the
Green,
teams threw those away. I'm just really glad
no,
someone got
he
one.
had it sitting on his desk, and he said to me, he said, well, I said to him, I was like, I appreciate the hot rods so much because they are a lot like the Dust Devils, right? Like a lot like the Tri-City Dust Devils, emblematic of what minor league baseball teams can mean to their communities. And the hot rods, you know, they came through after those horrible tornadoes hit the Midwest, and they offered up their suites to small businesses who had lost their places of work. And the team has just done so much, and they just won a big award yesterday for their role in community service. At the time of this recording, it was yesterday that they won another award that was all about community service. And that level of appreciation for people and for, you know, reaching out it extends to all scales, because they're the only, and we've been doing our baseball palooza trip since 2014, the minor league baseball road trip that I do with college buddies. Mm-hmm. The Hot Rods are the only team ever to reach out to us with free tickets. And it was Eric Leach. Eric reached out to me personally to offer us 10 free tickets to this game. And when the Midwest League season was canceled because of COVID and they were supposed to host the All-Star game, he sent me a stack of ice cream helmets for my collection from the All-Star game that never happened in the the 2020 Midwest League All-Star game.
And they're now worth $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Collector's items.
So that's
why I'm wearing the Hot Rods.
I had a similar experience, and it was not dissimilar to when we were at the Tri-Cities, Eric, where they looked. It's always weird when I reach out, because I think teams sometimes want me to have them pay to be on the show, which I find fascinating, but I can't tell you the number of times like, we can't pay for this. And then sometimes we're kind of ignored, but like the fact that we were just sort of embraced and welcomed, and we went on that Halloween night, and everyone from the GM down was in costume. They were having a good time. And I think that really does, I think that culture, drives everything, not just the brands. Now, people who've listened to my show for more than 3 to 4 minutes know probably what my favorite brand in my Facebook.
I'm gonna let you say it, Eric. Yeah.
Have y'all made it out to Whataburger Field yet? Any of you guys?
Oh, no.
I was at a conference in Corpus Christi in November of 2016, and we were about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the stadium. So there was no baseball, but I built it into my running route every single day. So every single day I made sure I ran around the baseball stadium there.
I absolutely love it. And I think I pulled 2 hats, and I think one of the things I love about them is they're very dynamic with their brands. I think all their alternative looks work, and it's not just what I have up here. I think this faux back look is actually, I think, one of my favorite looks in baseball, period. I wish they wore it more. It's classy. It looks classic, and fans of Houston sports know that this is the color scheme of the Houston Oilers, which went away. And I'm a Cowboys fan, so I didn't really care, but I just think I love that they reached out to that. But my favorite thing that they do is this one, and this is the Corpus Christi Blue Ghosts. Mm-hmm. And it's nicknamed for the World War II aircraft carrier that sits. You can see it from the outfield, and I love that the ship is called the Blue Ghost because the Japanese sank one. They rebuilt it and started calling it a ghost because, we just sank that one. What's this new one doing here? But when they have Blue Ghost Weekend every Memorial Day, they do a lot of reaching out for veterans. They do batting practice on the deck of the Lexington, which is super cool. We got to go. And then you go in, and the entire ballpark is transformed to 1943. The music they play between innings, they really, again, they go top to bottom. And I think it's just I don't know. To me, it's just something that Jessica and I try to get to that one every year if we can. So it's just really, 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 really special. All right. So what's the score now, Paul? So I'm going to hold them up, and you tell me Brandiose okay. This is Brandiose, right?
No, it's actually the Corpus Christi Hooks brand was designed by Dan Simon.
Okay, cool.
And but the hooks themselves were sketched by Reed Ryan, Nolan Ryan's son.
Oh, that's right. I learned that on your podcast.
we've had Reed on the show. Did I tell you about? Oh my God, I had Reed on the show, and I think he knew I was joking, but yeah. So one of my many like baseball low points was when Nolan Ryan left. And I remember going out to my garage in tears in tears, and my mother trying to console me and me saying, "It's okay. He's too old to do anything anyway."
Famous
funny.
last words.
James,
Yeah.
I do have to say, by the way, that the Blue Ghost logo was designed by Brandios. So the overall hooks brand is, so I don't know who to give that point to.
Well, I showed both hats,
Wash.
give him each one,
Yeah.
and then we have Hot Rods. Was that a
Brandon LaMarche,
okay? And then Fireflies.
Sky Design.
So we have a tie.
Yeah, we ended up with a tie.
It's all like making out with your sister.
What?
My sister.
Jim,
What does she have to do with this?
could you hold up the faux back hat again? Here's a
Yeah.
Texas question for you.
Sure.
Because so the hook ends with a star where Corpus Christi is on the Texas outline map
Yeah.
there. Now, okay, the beginning of the hook is a little circle. That's a little northeast of where Houston is, though, right?
Well, no, this is really far west Texas where the
Okay.
circle is. Houston's going to be
Like Louisiana.
yeah, that's Louisiana. So Houston's probably I guess not too far from where the circle is.
I was just thinking, as the double A for the Astros, I was like, is there like a
I
double?
wonder.
meaning?
I mean, it does
I don't know.
seem like that might be the best way to have oriented it. Yeah,
But
maybe.
I'm not a designer, nor am I a Texan, so I'm gonna leave that alone.
I
My
did want
favorite-
to go ahead, Paul.
I was gonna say my favorite story like this is the Richmond Flying Squirrels logo that everyone, when it came out, everyone was just like,
Yeah.
it looks just like Virginia. That's amazing.
Good
and
job.
then Brandios was just like, nah, that was not on
Nice.
purpose.
He's just flying. It's fine,
Exactly.
no. You go ahead. It's like how everybody thinks the song American Pie was about Richie Valens dying in a plane crash, and Don McLean's like, I never said that. You're welcome to
That
run
is
with
funny.
that if you want to. Now we have you both together, and I thought it would be fun to end this interview the way we end it with every new member of a team. We're gonna play a little pepper.
Ooh.
Okay,
Awesome.
some
Fun.
rapid fire stuff.
I love the rapid
Um,
fire questions.
Eric, you'll go first on all the odd ones,
Oh,
and
okay.
Paul, you go first on all the even ones.
Okay.
All right. First one. What is your go-to ballpark food?
Hot dog and a Coke, or if I'm on a budget, bottle of water and peanuts.
Paul?
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. So we're
Yeah,
both
yeah, we're
answering
gonna you get to ask both. I just don't want you to go second every
I'm
time.
Ice
so
cream
glad I got
helmet.
to go first. 'Cause I
these.
would've-
I guess right.
Listen,
We could have skipped you though, Paul. I guess.
I'm going to be super on brand with this, right? The ice cream helmet.
Okay. Paul, Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Marvel.
Okay. Eric, strangest thing you've seen at a ballpark?
Oh man! Every time I get asked this question, I think of something different. Ooh, let's see. At the Paddleheads game last season, Paul, do you remember they came out like the team came out on like inflatable boats, and they were actually paddling like around the warning track
Yes.
on the beds of a truck.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yep.
that was great. Oh, but anytime I go to the Tacoma Rainiers, Casey Catherwood and that
Dude,
team
who
does
kills it more
something-
than that guy?
something you've never seen before, and not just baseball, but like the in-between innings. Yeah, amazing.
And I love the time we went. There was almost a narrative that went from the first inning to
Yeah.
the ninth about this bad intern, and it was
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so
He weaves in these storylines like
Yeah. He's the best to do it as far as that goes. Paul.
So mine actually happened on the field of play. It was at a major league game. It was the Kansas City Royals and your Houston Astros. I have never seen, still to this day, have never seen a cycle before. And Jose Altuve came up late. He's the fastest baseball player I've ever seen in person. Like it's unbelievable how fast he is. So he comes up. He's already got a single and a double and a home run in this game. And it's in Kansas City. And so I'm like sort of hyper aware of the fact that he needs a triple to get the cycle. And sure enough, he hits this sort of looping drive down the, he goes opposite field, hits this looping drive just slow enough that it's going to wreak some havoc, right? Down the right field line. And he takes off like a shot. It is just like unbelievable. And I'm like, this is an easy triple. Like this is an easy triple. He's going so fast that he tripped over second base. He trips over second base, stumbles, and rolls, right? And he's going so fast that he rolled almost halfway to third base, stood up laughing, the throw's coming into third base, and he just sort of saunters back to second base, just like laughing, like, oh, well. and I couldn't and my buddy who I was there with, I had gone to the bathroom and missed the whole thing. I was just like, you can't believe what just happened.
I can't even describe it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So that to me, missing, maybe it's just because I knew I missed out on the cycle, and that's still on my bucket list, right? Like, I'd love to see a cycle, but
I don't think I've seen a cycle. I've seen no hitters. I've seen, yeah. Okay. Now, outside of, never mind. This is Paul first. Sorry, next question. But anyway, Paul, first question. What is the first time baseball broke your heart?
It was in the late 70s. So I was, I was born in 73. So I was like 6, when the Phillies they kept having these great teams that were, just kept losing to the Dodgers or the Pirates, right? Like, couldn't quite break through. And my grandfather on my father's side, was a huge Philadelphia baseball fan. First the A's, and then when the A's left the Phillies, and then he used to sit there and he would just call them dem bums, and he would put the game on every night, and he always just seemed so unhappy. And then, like, in the late 70s, he got, they just kept getting closer and closer and closer. And then, as you know, in 1980, I'm sorry, James, in 1980, they won the World Series after the best NLCS ever played ever, I think, between the Astros and the Phillies.
Luckily, I'm too young to have been scarred by that. Mine was later.
The Phillies won the World Series in 1980. My grandfather, after a lifetime of rooting for the Phillies and just wanting nothing more than for them to win a World Series and for him to see it, he died 3 months before it happened.
Oh,
and never got to see them win the World Series. And I remember when they won the World Series, there was like this bittersweet, just like, but Grandpa wasn't here for it.
Well, I have a similar story about but I firmly believe he saw it.
Yep. I hope so.
He was there.
Yep.
I firmly believe it.
Maybe he even helped.
yeah.
Eric. Yeah. Right. Eric, how about you?
I think last time I answered this question, I talked about how the Dust Devils have been to the championship series for the Northwest League 5 times, and it's always come down to the final game, the final inning, and we haven't won it once. But the first time baseball broke my heart, probably, when was the Subway Series? Was that 99 or 2000 between the Mets and the Yankees?
I think that was 2000 because it was before 2001, right?
Right. Arizona. Anyway, the Yankees beat out the Mariners in the playoffs in the postseason to get to the World Series. And I was so upset. I remember it was like my senior year of high school. I printed out like flyers, like how like the Yankees bought the World Series. And I put them around my high school. I carried them around with me. And I was just like so pissed off as like this angsty teenager. So
that was the last time, by the way, that Eric was not smiling.
But to say Eric became the Norma Ray of baseball right there. I love
that's
it.
Right.
Okay. Eric, not counting the Dust Devils.
Yeah.
You've already picked 3. What is your favorite of the 3 brands you showed today in minor league baseball?
Ding, 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 ding. Asheville Tourists. I'm going to say even more, this exact logo, their primary main logo, because it shows like a starry night. It shows the Blue Ridge Mountains, the colors. It's just so whimsical and outdoorsy and like a magical summer night. And that's what minor league baseball is. That's why I love working for a team.
I love that answer.
Thank you. Is it Paul's turn?
Paul, it's your turn.
Oh, I thought I was waiting for my cue there. I wanted to make sure I wasn't jumping.
He's frozen.
Jumping the start there. So I told you how like every time I'm asked this question, it could be a different team. So I may go outside the 3 that I picked for today and say the Portland Sea Dogs.
Yeah.
I get to meet Slugger this year, and I'm not sure I'm built I'm built to handle it.
I'm a huge. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but other than Dusty, the Dust Devil, of course, Sheldon, the Tortuga, and Slugger, the Sea Dog, absolutely the best in baseball.
And I get to meet them both this year.
And that logo was created by someone who's way outside the sort of minor league baseball spheres, Guy Gilchrist, who's like a character illustrator for like the Nancy and Sluggo cartoon and Disney and Fraggle Rock, and just a great, cool example of character design, turned baseball logo. And also someone who I know, James, who I got to interview for my podcast was Emma Tiedemann, who I'm a huge fan of her work as a play-by-play broadcaster for the Sea Dogs.
Yeah, we've been having Emma on our show for the last 3 years, and I get to meet her in person this year too. I mean, I told her like I'm slightly more excited to meet Slugger, and she was cool with it.
I got to jump on the train. I got to meet Emma when she was in Lexington.
Oh, very cool.
She interviewed me for a full inning in the booth.
She's the absolute
I love
best.
Emma. She really is.
And you know, and we named our Woman in Baseball award after her. Because someone completely random who's somehow connected to our show tweeted at her she's a young woman that wants to get into broadcasting, and Emma was so generous with their time for someone she didn't actually know. And I just thought you need so much more of that in the world. Okay, Paul, you're up first. Dogs or cats?
So I have owned cats for a long time, but if I had to, pick someone to go on a minor league baseball road trip with, I would pick dogs. My current pet is a COVID rescue, who I was told I would have for 3 months, and that she would spend her whole time hiding in the closet. She's a cat, and she's become like my best bud, and she doesn't hide at all. And I've had her for 2 years now instead of 3 months. And whenever I sit down on the sofa, she crawls up on my shoulder. And so I'm not going to say I don't like cats, but if I had to pick, a road trip buddy, it's going to be a dog.
How about you, Eric?
Well, I love dogs. Paul, is that the cat that eats out of the El Paso Chihuahuas food bowl?
Yes. Yeah, she drinks her water from a dog bowl from the El Paso Chihuahuas that's as big as she is.
I love that. Okay, Eric, Star Wars or Jaws?
Okay, Star Wars. I don't think I've even watched Jaws, which I know is a crime. And James, you might unfriend me. Oh, is that me in the shark mouth?
No. I mean, it might be if you're not careful.
I love Star Wars. I love sci-fi and fantasy, and that was my dad introduced me to Star Wars when I was a little boy. So lots of good stuff there.
Paul?
Star Wars. I like Jaws, but Star Wars.
I like them both too. Clearly, there's a large Vader right behind me, and that's my dog's name. But I was talking to Columbia Fireflies today, and they might have a Jaws night for me next year.
Just for
That's
you?
Incredible.
Yeah, they're like,
incredible.
Yeah, dude, we'll do one. And so he was looking up ways to explain it, and it is going to be the 45th anniversary of Jaws 2.
Nice.
Just when we thought it was safe to go back to the ballpark. All right, couple more to go. Kevin Costner is a cowboy or a ball player? Paul, you first.
Ball player. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Costner as a ball player. Absolutely.
Same all day. Ball player.
Eric looked at me like this was the dumbest question he'd ever heard. Of course.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, you're going to a ballpark, brand new spot. Where do you sit?
Yeah. I probably gravitate towards like not right behind home plate, but probably where it starts to curve, like the corners, the bottom of the U, but as high up as possible. What I love about baseball more than anything is that it's a time for families, for friends, for individuals to chill out outside in their locale. So I like to see the skylines, the horizons of the different cities.
The skyline means so much to a ballpark.
Yeah.
Paul?
Yes.
I like to sit about 15 rows up on the third base side. There's nothing I love more. I play kickball with friends. I used to play softball until our team sort of dissolved. There's nothing I love more than the third base coach doing this, right? So I'm a huge fan of watching the third base coach, like as runs are scoring. I think the most exciting plays in baseball happen at third base. And so I'm a huge fan of sitting right behind third base.
Okay. And last question, Paul, you're up first. What is your go-to baseball movie?
I think the first 2/3 of Bull Durham and then the last third of Major League.
No, but you're
them together.
This is a whole other conversation. But I think Bull Durham falls apart in that last third to a degree that I don't like the movie as much as I should.
Right. I love Bull Durham for about an hour.
And then you fast forward through the 8-minute sex montage with Susan Sarandon, in which they spill milk and keep going at it. I'm like, look,
nobody does it.
I've been passionate, but I'm not passionate enough to be in milk.
Yeah, that's gonna stink. That's gonna
absolutely. It's gonna get in places. I don't even want to know.
Yeah. If I'm watching the entire movie, I would say A League of Their Own.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as the champion of the Let's Get To movie draft, by the way, I feel like I've got some bona fides in this area.
You really do. Oh my God. I remember the minute you drafted that, I was like, oh, you just won. There you go. and I was right. All right, Eric, what is yours?
I'm just going to stick with the theme. People are going to think I'm such a sap, but that's okay. I really am. Field of Dreams. captures the magic of what baseball does to connect generations, to connect us with those who've gone before us, like the magic of baseball. And I know, I mean, it makes me seem kind of childish maybe, but that's what baseball is. It's a chance to remember what it was like to be a young boy or young girl or young child, playing fun, having fun, playing outside.
That is always my choice too. And what I love about the movie is you identify with different characters based on your stage of life. And I'm in a very like Moonlight Graham moment in my life of what choices could I have made, where I would have ended up, am I where I'm supposed to be? And I really love that. All right, well, that's going to wrap this up. Paul and Erik, thanks again for not just being on this episode, Let's Get To, but thanks for both of you guys committing to just be a part of our show. I think the show is going to be better for it.
James, I'm a huge fan of you and the work that you're doing, and this show and the positivity and the celebration of baseball and the communities where it's played. And so everything that you're doing is great. I am thrilled to be a part of it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also say again that I'm a huge fan of Erik Mertens and the work that he does. And I can't wait to get to a Dust Devils game.
Oh my gosh.
And can I say I'm super, super excited to go with you, James, to the Rocky Mountain Vibes and to the Gem City Bison.
Yeah, I'll ask you that after 40 pounds of camera gear gets moved all over the ballpark. And before Erik signs off, we should also, we should shout out the Curved Brim Media people. Make sure you're following at Baseball Bucket. You make sure that following Dad Hat Chronicles, Patrick Larson and Baseball Mapper. But Erik, I got just mad amounts of love for you. So thank you again as well for committing to be part of the show.
Thank you. I'm not officially a part of the Curved Brim Media. I don't have any media, but I feel like an honorary family member just because I love you all so much. I would love to hang out with you two in person, but before then, let's just do this every Tuesday. Let's just jump on Zoom.
This is a standing meeting, whether we're recording or not.
I'm kind of in for it, so we'll see. All right, you guys take care.
Thank you.
All right.
On the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellas on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
You know the fellas' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean, the fellas'
Who's on first?
Who?
The Let's Get To Team of the Week.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Presented by the Baseball Bucket List Podcast.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
And we're excited. You know his face. You know his name. Martie Cordaro is back, one of the best friends of Let's Get To. Martie, first of all, how's it going? How's life been?
We're playing in April, first time since 19. It's great to have baseball. It's great to be a part of the third-ranked farm system in all of minor league baseball. And, it's I'm talking to you on a game day, a Thursday afternoon. We got dollar beer night tonight.
First of all, first time since 2019. What was it like to at least roll into this year feeling like, okay, this one probably almost kind of will be normal?
Yeah, that's a good framework, kind of almost could be normal. That's part of it, at least the optimism with cautious in front of it. But no, I would tell you our off-season prep and plan was much more like 19 than it was 21. Okay. So that was a good indication. And whether it's mini plan packages, ticket packages, especially group outings and hospitality, corporate sales. So that's a good indication. And not only from baseball perspective, but, we also double and we own a soccer club, Union Omaha. So we're seeing a little bit more traction on that side as well.
How have the crowds been for the first couple of games? I know.
Well, it's tough. It's Omaha and it's April. And then this year, opening day was 38 degrees in the morning. By first pitch at 6:35, it was 91 degrees. And that was because we were under severe weather watch. So by 8:40, we were in a rain delay in the sixth inning. And by 8:50, we had people in the restrooms because the tornado sirens were going off. And then that was opening day. The next 5 days, our average first pitch temperature was 45 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And then on Easter Sunday, we played in snow and 31-degree wind chill. So we really aren't counting the first homestand, but this week has been much better. We had a 5,000 plus crowd on Tuesday.
Oh, great. Wow. For a Tuesday, that's great.
Yeah, it was a great crowd it was a kids' day game. So it was one of our bigger youth day games of the year. And, decent crowd last night on Wednesday. And then tonight, who knows? We'll see what dollar beer night is tonight. But for us, May 1st, and May is always kind of the opening of the season, if you will, and April is gravy for whatever we do. And we're really excited because we are here next week at home. So we have a homestand that does start on May the 3rd. And then, of course, Friday, May 6th is everyone's favorite Star Wars night and our first fireworks show of 2022.
All right, what do we have planned for Star Wars night? I know you and I are big nerds. Anything fun? We got 501st coming out. What's going on?
We do 501st and post-game fireworks and the music, and there'll be prizes. And of course, we're playing in Darth Maul jerseys that were designed in fall of 19 for the 2020 season. So we've been sitting on those jerseys for 2 years.
Will they be up for auction?
They will be. Yeah, absolutely. They will be. And
asking for me.
Asking for a friend. Yeah. We're excited about it. Let's see if I can show you a quick shot of what they look like. They're pretty cool looking.
Oh, wow.
So they are pretty cool looking. So, Friday, May 6th, it'll be neat. It'll be cool. It'll be a cool night. So if you want me to bid for you under a pseudonym, just let me know if I need to do that.
I absolutely will. So it sounds like at least the COVID hangover isn't going to, like, people are not afraid to go out is I guess more the question.
No, I would tell you probably less than 5% of fans we see are wearing masks. The company, and I mentioned company picnics and corporate outings are really strong. Business is really strong there. And that tells me that either a business has gone back to the office and they've opened back up. And now they're starting to do events with their employees or their associates or customers now, or they haven't opened back up in their place of business, yet they know the camaraderie, the culture, the fellowship aspect is something that's lacked for almost 3 years since we haven't had a baseball season. They haven't had a baseball outing in 3 years, and they're using that to reintroduce people to each other or introduce people to each other because there's been so many new hires and so many people have left companies over the last 24 to 26 months.
I'm really glad because that was I think one concern I had going in. It was, would people react well? And I have seen decent crowds on our trips. I want to go back to the Star Wars thing and just sort of that part of the game. Last year, Disney didn't do the custom jerseys for most people, I think. And I think some people would jump to the conclusion that it was an MLB thing. I think they just didn't want to encourage gatherings at that point. How was the process with them this year?
Well, we're back. Minor league baseball is back, part of that. Regardless of what happened, it was different. We didn't get the approval to have Star Wars nights last year. And we were very creative and came up with some fun ways to have space themed nights, but we were all told to not do that either. We were going to be Storm Wars 2021. We were going to be as creative as we could with our name and with our Star Wars fandom, but we didn't do it. So, this May will be 3 years since we've done them. So, it's an opportunity to get back to some of what is normal. And, we are excited about the new Marvel partnership, Defenders of the Diamond. And, our character is Black Panther, and our Marvel night, I believe, is in July. So that is to come.
Let's talk a little bit about the Marvel thing. That was actually the next thing on my list. I haven't gotten a clear picture of how it works. So you said your character is Black Panther. Just kind of explain how this is going, because I know it's all over minor league baseball.
Well, there's custom merchandise for each team that we will have available in store, and there are custom jerseys that we can have and we can wear on the field, and then that has to be tied into a charity. So we'll be doing that. Let's see, Marvel Defenders of the Diamond jersey auction is on July 22nd. That's when ours is. So that's going to be a great night, here at Warner Park. We obviously have fireworks that night as well. And then also as part of it, there's going to be a themed, I don't know if it was, what type of content. Is it a book? Is it a comic book? But that is to come in the 23-24 seasons, and that will be coming in the future. But it's a little bit of a slow rollout. Things with 120 teams take time. And if I'm defending those in New York, maybe I sound like I am for once. So, that's okay, but we're trying to be patient with that. And, they're working on selling a national sponsorship to Defenders of the Diamond.
Yeah, no, I wasn't making an accusation. I mostly just was sort of unclear on the details. Like the idea of y'all are being signed a team. That's kind of neat that you guys are assigned a character and get to sort of have a game day experience around that.
Correct. Yep.
One of the things you guys are really good at, though, are sort of these local theme nights or, playing as the potholes, things like that. How much of that's still going to be a part of the experience out there?
Yeah. Theme nights are important. Tonight is our first community celebration series. I don't know if you saw, we made an announcement. PayPal is a season-long sponsor of ours now. And tonight is mental health awareness. We'll have gender equity night. We'll have diversity night. We'll have pride night. We'll have all abilities night. And we'll have 8 to 10 of those nights throughout the season. So we've taken a little different twist, and it's more social based, more community based with our theme nights. And we're still doing daddy-daughter date night, and we're still doing Star Wars night and Marvel night, and we've got Take Me Out to the ball game on a Wednesday night coming up in a couple weeks, where you can bring your cat in a car carrier or on a leash. Take me out. Okay, come on, you gotta get that. So we did it last year, and it was successful. So we want to grow it this year. So we're still doing the fun. We're still doing a lot of fun things.
The Take Me Out thing, I actually referenced it in one of my openings for the season. I did a survival guide to people who don't like the theme night they're at, which is mostly just ignore it or embrace it. And I made a point of saying, like, I'm a dog guy, but I'd still go to Meow Night just to see you guys literally herd cats. That would have.
As am I. I'm allergic to cats, and we're doing it. So you fall in line, and when in Rome, and minor league baseball is Rome. And I was visiting with a season ticket holder last night, and he was asking about all the new protocols and the shot clock that they're finally enforcing with balls and strikes and outs now. And and I'm like, Rick, what we do best is community and is fun. And there are operators around the country like myself that probably got caught up in things that we really had no control over, and we probably should have taken a breath. I'm trying to take a breath in 22 and maybe turn over a new leaf, teach an old dog new tricks, and really get back to doing what we do best. And that's allowing our staff to be creative. But no Omaha potholes night in 22, but you never know in the future. We'll see.
Let's talk the pitch clock then. I had another GM on the episode before yours that'll drop, Eric Jarinko from the Greenville Drive. And he mentioned that the game I was at was 2 hours and 30 minutes, which meant the last call for beer was like at 8:30. I mean, have you had to start to adapt to what a faster game looks like from the bottom line of your business?
My wife was asking me about this, and my answer to her is, ask me in July, ask me in August. Right. I think it's very premature. We all anticipate that they will continue to enforce that. I happen to be someone who likes the pace of baseball, as in the past. I don't think that's a problem to sit down and watch a game for 3 hours, 5, 3:10. Now I can see beyond 3:10, 3:15, that starts to drag. But there's an art to being able to sit down and have a Pepsi or have a Budweiser and have a Hebrew National hot dog, while you're sitting in Warner Park and carrying on a conversation between Jim and Marty. And I hope it doesn't get lost that we end up being basketball or football or hockey, because baseball is different. And I think things can be too rapid, there are new times for on base or not on base this year. My solution was, don't change the time. You don't need to go away from the time that we had. Just actually enforce what we've had going on at AAA baseball since 2015. So maybe there's some middle ground there to be had, but it's too early to tell. But are we going to be selling fewer hats and fewer beers and fewer hot dogs and fewer admissions to the kids area? I don't know. Too early to tell, but it is something we absolutely are monitoring and paying attention to. Great question.
I think you bring up, though, an excellent point about it. It almost seems like some of these decisions or ways to fix baseball are being made by people who don't like baseball. And so maybe we should just put people who like baseball to make those decisions. you're right. I want to be able to sit there and use that. And it's not even like interminably long, but the 25, 30 seconds between pitches to check in on with whoever I'm hanging out with, instead of, like you said, comparing it to like arena football where we're flying. I used arena football because I miss it down here. So
yeah, your words, not mine, about, fixing the game, but I won't disagree with you. But look, fundamentally, baseball has a pace problem, but I don't know if it's a time problem. And those are two different things. So, no, we'll see. I'm anxious to see at the end of the year where we end up from a time perspective, and as well, what's the impact on the bottom line.
Yeah, because there's also the argument to be made that the games could be faster, because I'm assuming the offense is having the same sort of taking forever to catch back up like the major league game has. I mean, you guys still had a relatively short abbreviated spring training, so that could also be part of the issue.
It could be. I mean, it's possible. Last night we had no offense at all, but we had no pitching either. It was 14-0, and we had a relatively swift game. It was 2 hours and 24 minutes. There were 14 runs scored. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 5 pitchers. So, overall, there were 24 hits, and it was still 2 hours and 24 minutes. That game was moving very fast. And again, is that too quick? I don't know yet. I don't want to sit here on April the 27th, 28th, whatever day, 28th today, and say that it's too quick. My gut says absolutely it is. But as I said, I want to take 2 or 3 months to properly evaluate.
Well, what has been too quick has been this interview. But we're going to have you back on in a couple of weeks. And I will be thinking about this when I want to have you guys on for our Memorial Day episode, because I want to talk about how you guys approach things like that. These big sort of heavier days as we get to as we get through our calendar through the baseball season. But he's Martie Cordaro. He is no stranger to our show. Thanks so much for being on Let's Get Two.
Always great to be with you. And I love the Express jersey in the background there. And, it's great to be back. It's great to be back with you. And we'll talk Memorial Day and first responders and September 11th and July 4th, whatever you want to talk about. And for all the listeners out there, thank you for supporting minor league baseball.
Lights, camera, play ball. The best in baseball cinema.
And welcome back to Lights, Camera, Play Ball. Andy Tom Chesson is here. I think it's Lights, Camera, Baseball. Why can't I remember the name of this segment?
I don't know, but it's not a Joe Garza. I can tell you that.
Before we jump into the Battered Bastards of Baseball, which I know you and I are both excited to watch or to talk about, the people out there should know that we do not record this show in real time, that we will often do segments a couple of days before. And so I will say to you, May the 4th be with you.
Well, I mean, depending on when you drop this, that could be remarkably accurate or dated by several days. So
it could be dated by several days as today.
And as I'm Catholic, and with your spirit.
And no, it's also with you. Of all the things the Catholic Church has done, that's the thing that's ticked me off the most. I'm just kidding. The child sex thing is it. But real quick though, before we jump into this, the movie of the topic of the day, where do you stand on prequel trilogy versus sequel trilogy?
I mean, if you have to take that franchise in thirds. So obviously in any ranking, the middle third, 4, 5, and 6 are the standard. And then I'd have to take the 7, 8, 9 over 1, 2, 3. Because I really liked 3, and you're going to make me know the names of these, and I won't ever get them right because somehow Phantom Menace, Revenge, Jedi, Sith thing all got mixed up in my head somewhere.
This should have just been what it was called.
Yeah, but I thought it was supposed to be called "Look at R2-D2" in every film of this movie.
And then surprised when he meets him. Okay, it's
the Journey of the Droids is what it should have been called.
Really.
The first 2 movies, and especially the first movie, was so off-putting to me that there was very little that could happen in the next 2 to make them better. And I like the third movie. It wasn't bad. It certainly had some progress, but if I'm ranking them in thirds, I think that's the logical ranking. And if you had combined all three of the first movies into one 2-hour film, I think that would have been better. It had a lot of George Lucas fluff that didn't need to necessarily be in there.
I actually did that. I created the gym edit, and that's what
Supercut?
I did. It's like I pretty much begin with Qui-Gon getting killed,
mm-hmm.
and then most of Revenge of the Sith is still in it, and I reordered some stuff, and then yeah, I think Revenge of the Sith is good. I think at least Star Wars 7, 8, 9, for as disjointed and a mess as they are at times, at least still feel like a Star Wars movie, and I think that's the biggest thing.
I know what we're about to talk about next doesn't have midichlorians in it, but it does have brooms.
Yes. So let's jump into that. We want to talk about the Battered Bastards of Baseball. And, for those of you who haven't seen it, Netflix documentary, I was doing some research for this episode, and I didn't realize it had won Sundance. I didn't realize that it was I came to this movie very late, actually, Andy. I don't think I've discovered this movie until maybe 2019. My friend Michael Sharon introduced me.
Yep.
When did you first see it?
Probably right when it came out on Netflix, just because the algorithm teed it up for me. So I like documentaries. I like sports movies. I like baseball. So based on my watching habits on Netflix, it was kind of right in the wheelhouse. So I think I watched it again last night, so I'd be fresh on our topic today, but I literally think I've watched it a dozen times easily. And I'm probably underestimating that.
Yeah, I think I've seen it 5 or 6 since I saw it. And even Jessica's seen it 2 or 3 times. Like if she hears me start it, it's one that I've got to now stop until she can come and watch. I love where it fits in the mission of the show we're on right now. Let's Get To. Like it's a very Let's Get To thing.
Yep.
Talk to me about just some of the reasons why the movie really worked for you and why you keep revisiting it.
I think it's, in a lot of ways, I think the idea that baseball is a reflection of America is overplayed. I think it's trite and it gets used a lot. But I think this film, this franchise, what Bing Russell tried to put together, what felt very American to me, and in all the best ways. Being tired of the establishment, wanting to forge his own path, wanting to do things a different way and win while he was doing it. And in turn, giving a bunch of guys who either were on their last chance or never would have gotten a chance, the chance to continue to do something that they love and have fun. And I mean, it's very, very American to me, and recognizing I'm saying all of this wrapped up in all of the white privilege you could possibly have as a 50-year-old white male in Houston, Texas. But it's just, there's nothing about that movie, even the eventual end, that didn't make me feel good about what Bing and his furry, fuzzy band of reprobates put together.
I want to jump a little bit ahead then before we kind of dive into the nuts and bolts of the movie, including how it got made, because I think that story is just as awesome in a way. But it seems like it was the first shot fired against a very Manfred-esque MLB, like the whole concept that we're going to control every single level of baseball at all. And to the idea that, you and I are going to probably be at 3 or 4 independent games this season, and the concept that at the time they were the only one is so different from the current landscape that we're seeing today.
Well, that was, I think, one of the things, and people who don't know, Bing Russell was on Bonanza for 13 years. So he is an actor, had some money. Not that you needed a lot of money. He bought the franchise or the rights to the Portland Mavericks territory for $500. So, I mean, I think they even said in the film, if you had a MasterCard, you probably could have gotten the franchise, which I'm getting the feeling is probably what he did. It was at the tail end of when affiliated and organized Major League Baseball had squeezed out the independent leagues. And one of the things that Bing Russell talked about and was talked about during the film was that as he was growing up in a very baseball rich background, there were 250 plus independent teams operating in different cities in the country. Everything from your local brewery to your fire departments to just a town that wanted to have a baseball team and, paid guys not very well, maybe a job at the mill, but they also got to play baseball and represent the town. And organized baseball, which is how they refer to it a lot, but it is Major League Baseball, basically squeezed out each one of those teams, each one of those markets to get to the point of affiliated minor league baseball. That was very corporate. That was not about winning. It was not about establishing a connection with the community, but it was all about developing prospects and moving them up to the next level. And that was what the machine was. And I think a lot of things have changed in what we see in minor league baseball today. And I know a lot of the things we were concerned about a couple of years ago that we're still kind of TBDing on with Major League Baseball re-owning the minors and really owning it now and not just having a agreement. Those were the same things that Bing was concerned about, and same thing that these towns were facing. You either submit to being part of a Class A, Class AA, Class AAA style team, or you don't have baseball anymore.
Where do you sit on that now? And people that listen to the show know that we were talking about contraction pretty much before anybody else was. I don't think it turned out as bad as we thought. It seems like MLB is just embracing some of the independent things. Do you feel like the fear of that is over, or do you feel like we're still kind of dealing with the other shoe waiting for it to drop kind of deal?
I still have some trepidation. I think maybe it wasn't as bad as we feared it could be immediately, because I think the difference now versus what we were talking about in the film, and this was taking place in 1972 when he formed this team, was that Major League Baseball had no ownership stake in those affiliated teams, and the teams were simply just existing to receive money for developing the players or for providing a facility for developing the players. Whereas now, even the independently owned minor league franchises understand that this is a money-making venture, and it's a whole lot easier to make money by connecting with your community and having fun things to do and being an event than showcasing a guy that might not be here in 4 weeks because he did well. And the guys that didn't do well that are still here all season means they're not that great. So right. It's an interesting kind of concept to sell. And I think that the owners at all levels have gotten smarter about what their product actually is. And that product, as we've heard a lot of your guests talk about, is not the players on the field. The game is the product, but the experience is the real product. And it's that connection with the community that brings people back for that experience over and over and over again. And I think that's ultimately what Bing Russell was getting to with what he built in Portland versus what everybody else he was surrounded by was trying to do in baseball at that time.
Let's jump back to the movie because Bing Russell's an interesting cat, but I was really fascinated to learn that the movie was directed by his two grandkids. Mm-hmm. And I can just imagine these grandkids maybe tooling around the house and and asking Uncle Kurt, what is this Portland Mavericks thing? But I think that when you look at it from that context, the movie is very raw. These hairy guys, all that stuff that they talk about. There's also, for me, it feels like love permeates every single second of that film. And I think it starts with the direction.
Yeah, well, I think it's very apparent when you say that it's his grandkids that directed the movie, that it all comes from that point of love. Even Kurt Russell, who does a lot of the voiceover and commentary during the documentary, speaks very, very fondly about how he had the greatest childhood growing up because his dad was Bing Russell, and not Bing Russell the actor, Bing Russell the baseball guy, Bing Russell the dad. And everything came out of that. And it wasn't just the guys that were related to him. Todd Field, who is a director and has had major motion picture releases, was the 11-year-old bat boy on that team. Yeah. And came to Bing Russell on his deathbed well after all this happened. And Bing still referred to him as my bat boy. And I think Field, at the end of the movie, said that meant more to me than any Oscar nomination I've ever gotten, than any writing award I've ever gotten. And that's the level of love that everybody who participated on those teams, very short-lived amount of teams, by the way, felt towards the city of Portland, felt towards the Mavericks, and felt towards Bing.
I do think you can't look at that movie. You know, we talk a lot about how Bull Durham was very influential on the sort of minor league environment we're in now.
Yep.
But I think you can't discount what the Portland Mavericks did. All like the guy, you know, the sweep guy on the
Joe Garza.
Just all this, Joe Garza, all the stuff that was going on. You can definitely feel it impacted now with the way we see between inning entertainment at the minor league level now.
Yeah, so Joe Garza is, I think, a great example of that. It's trying things and doing things that get the crowd involved. So Joe Garza was a middle infielder who played sparingly, but is on the team. And often Bing Russell carried 30 guys on the team just because they needed to be on the team. Joe Garza was one of those guys, and he became a noun. A Joe Garza was a sweep. And when they had the potential to sweep, this guy would climb out on the dugouts or on the berm or on the outfield wall with a broom that he would set on fire. And it was all a show. The brooms were actually soaked in kerosene, and so they would be instantly flammable. And they had this aforementioned 11-year-old bat boy making these on the sidelines. But it was like literally a spirit of whatever it works, whatever it takes, let's get the crowd involved. We're part of this community versus we're stopping here for 3 months until I get called up to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, no, exactly. And I think you see that. One of the other things that I thought was very interesting about the movie was the idea that he was regularly hiring women in positions of power, which, you know, when you and I have celebrated anytime that happens now, because it's still a rarity, but how cool was it that this guy was immediately doing that?
I mean, down from the Batgirl that he had his second season up to the GM who was running the team for the last few seasons, who is a pastor now in the Portland area. I took it from the end credits again. He was very progressive in finding people who were good at jobs and putting them in there regardless of what their background was, regardless of what their race, creed, color, sex was. Also had the first Asian American GM at the very beginning, who was also a GM / player, which is weird, sort of, but that's what you got with the Portland Mavericks.
Yeah. There's another moment too that I thought was, I don't know, like it's interesting. Like, you know, you and I are trying to build this show, and obviously we're not being Russell, but there's a certain renegade craziness that has to go into doing what we're trying to do. And I love the fact that, you know, it was a great lesson in leadership when they had the star player who needed to be driven to the game, even though he lived, because he needs that, understanding that certain people need to be led a certain different kind of way.
Right. I mean, there's a bunch of great guy stories in the film. I think the one for me, Reggie, was a great story because I think he was their first good player. And he had to know that he was the best player because your best player has to be the best player. And that was part of Bing Russell's reasoning for getting him the car. Reggie needs to be the best player, and he's the kind of guy who needs to be driven to the stadium. And you find out at the end of the film that he disappeared in 1984 because probably somebody didn't drive him to where he was supposed to go. So Bing probably had some insight into that. I think there's a bunch of great characters, but the character that kind of spoke to me most was Jim Bouton, the former Yankee. So baseball royalty, pitched in the World Series, was former Astro, former Seattle Pilot, but pitched in World Series, was on the Maris Mantle team. So, I mean, understood what Major League Baseball looked like and got blackballed for it because he wrote a book. And the only team that would take a chance on letting him try a comeback was the Portland Mavericks. And he went on the Tonight Show, singing the praises of Bing and the franchise. And again, the love just pouring out, talking about this is the most fun I've ever had. Talking to Kurt Russell during a playoff game going, is there any place you'd rather be right now? And Kurt Russell going, no, not at all. That's what it's about. It's just, love is the best way to put it. There's just so much of every one of these guys that they talk to, and they talk to a bunch. appreciated and loved and gave love and received love back from the city that they played in and represented really, really well.
And the sad thing, of course, that we learn in the movie is once the Mavericks are bought out, that love doesn't continue. The Portland Beavers go on to struggle when they return as a AAA club. And currently there is no Portland AAA club.
Yeah. And I would assume part of that's facilities. One of the things that I had seen, but I don't think I really took into effect, or one of the great benefits of this show is that we get to travel to really incredible minor league facilities. And most of them do a really, really good job of show presentation. And the fields are immaculate and they're groomed. And the Portland Mavericks in 1973, 74, and 75 up to 77 or 78 in their last season, 77 was their last season, played on a municipal multi-purpose AstroTurf that was also a soccer and lacrosse field based on, because I had to look up how the stripes were laid out. Right field, I want to say, had to be at least 600 feet away from home plate. They didn't put up a
huge park.
I mean, it was huge to that end. To the other end, they had the cutouts like you remember seeing in the old NFL days.
Yeah.
When you went to Oakland or San Diego. And they had the cutouts in the turf for the mound and the bases, but everything else was turf, and they didn't unstripe it or put down new turf. It was just, that's where the soccer pitch lines go. If you had shown me footage of somebody rolling out a goal before the game started, they need to move the goals because somebody might hit it out there.
No, you're right though. And with huge walls, I remember that being the other part of it too.
Huge brick walls.
Yeah.
Brick green concrete all the way around.
All the way around.
So, I mean, if you had gotten a ball past the catcher, I'm assuming that thing could ricochet one of 5 million different ways. Scott McIntyre would love the angles of that.
And that is your Scott McIntyre dimension port of the day. You're right. And it's funny because I had the same conversation, which you'll see in next week's episode with Ed Rivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. We were sitting in this single A ballpark going, this is the same level. And it's Columbia and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the same level that Crash Davis played in. And they do not look the same anymore.
No.
Last thoughts on the movie. The legacy continues. There is now a Portland Mavericks again playing in a collegiate summer league, pod league. They've adopted the same uniform, same logo, same everything. As a big fan of this movie and the brand, how cool is that for you when they sort of announced that's what they were going to do?
I mean, I own a Portland Mavericks jersey. I own the Jim Bouton number on that jersey, and you graciously got me a hat from when you visited. So my outfit is complete, although I don't know that I could pull off red pants with it. They were one of the first monochrome teams in the early 70s, all red all the time. There's so much to love about this film. And if you're an Astros fan, you currently are starting to hate on the Mariners a little bit. You can hate on them too because they cheated to win the final championship and robbed Bing of his ultimate dream. And minor league fans will appreciate this. So this is Class A baseball in the Northwoods League, I think is what they were calling it at that point. Class A guys, these are all 18, 19, maybe 20-year-olds who got pulled out of college playing. In 1977, the Portland Mavericks had the best winning percentage in all of organized baseball. So up to the major leagues, they were winning 67% of their games. They played a 3-game series against the Bellingham Mariners. Again, supposed to be Class A guys. And Bellingham pulled guys from their double and triple A teams to fortify the roster to guarantee that Bing Russell wouldn't win a championship.
Yeah. And you see that, and to your point, you see that in minor league baseball all the time, but usually it's the opposite direction. Like I remember the Express getting to the championship game in the PCL only to have no one there because it was September call-ups time and they were all in Houston.
Yeah.
To send them down was a definite unethical move.
Yeah. And it's, I think that kind of behavior permeates the Mariners franchise to this day.
And that's a good place to leave it. Andy, thanks so much for jumping on Lights, Camera, Baseball. We'll be back in a few weeks with another baseball movie to talk about.
Sounds good.
And now on to close it out, the right-hander from Houston, Texas, James Christopher.
And so that does wrap up this episode of Let's Get Two. Before we get out of here, we have some good news. We shared last week about the two little leagues that we're supporting, Sisters Little League and the Manchac Little League. Well, we're also supporting collegiate summer league baseball. This is a form of baseball that I have absolutely fallen in love with. It's one I didn't necessarily know a whole lot about until the pandemic, when that was the only game in town, and so that's what you went to see. But the Texas Collegiate League has a new team, the Seguin River Monsters. We're putting the logo up here. It's awesome. They really thought this brand through from top to bottom, and they're only about 40 minutes from here. And one, I love that we're going to see hopefully more teams joining the TCL. I think it doesn't make sense to me that we don't have a bigger college summer league presence in Texas. I know it's hot in July. Maybe that's it. But I'm so excited to have this team here that when we saw them, we decided to sponsor. So if you go out to the ballpark, you're going to see our sign in the outfield. If you log onto their website, you'll see our logo, links to our shows. But we couldn't be more excited to support the Seguin River Monsters. We are going to have season tickets, so we're going to go out there, and we'll be out there 9 or 10 times. We're going to bring friends that we know and hopefully introduce them to this really cool side of the game that maybe they hadn't been exposed to. Let's Get Two is presented by Twitchy Dolphin Media. Executive produced by Jessica Bybee Jedgetts. Produced by Andy Tom Chesson, Scott McIntyre, and James Christopher. Associate producers Andrew Nelson, Timothy Jedgetts, and Jess Canaster. Music by Andy Bertelson, Grace Usselman, and On Holiday. All content created by Let's Get Two is the sole property of Twitchy Dolphin Media. All content created by teams covered in the episode are the sole property of the trademark holders. Let's Get Two is a proud member of Curved Brim Media.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, I'm James Christopher, host of Let's Get Two, and we are going to be taking you on a tour of this great country through the lens of minor league baseball. That's right, from sea to shining sea, we're going to be looking at towns big and small as we explore the greatest game ever invented.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Data Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
And I'm Paul Caputo. I tell the story of America one minor league baseball logo and nickname at a time on the Baseball by Design podcast.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.